are stories that connect us to ourselves and each other. These stories reveal who we are and show us the many vivid, wild colors of our truth. Welcome to Soul Wanderings, where we raise spiritual awareness and foster connections through these shared stories and personal experiences. And now, exclusively on KGRA Radio, I give you your host for Soul Wanderings Radio. Here's AJ.
Hello, Wanderers. Welcome, welcome. You are here with me, AJ, and this is Soul Wanderings. And we are hanging out on kgradb.com. I hope you are joining us there on this amazing station where we get to talk about all things that are anomalous and otherwise. Excuse my voice tonight. It's coming back, so I'm a little squeaky. But in the meantime, while we hang out here, I want you to check out soulwanderings.com. And that is a place where you could get to know me more. You can get to know about the things that I do and all of the adventures that I'm up to, as well as the show and why I started the show and why it's so important to me. I've been doing this show for over 5 years now. It is very much a part of my life. I enjoy it so very much and love being here with each and every single one of you. I do want to give a shout out to my listeners in the chat room already piling in. Welcome, welcome. We love to have you guys join us every week. I appreciate the support. Hope you're all happy and healthy and well. And if you want to join us on video, make sure you are going over to KGRA Digital Broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook. You can hang out in the chat rooms there. You can ask your questions. And if you do happen to have them, make sure you type them all in caps so I can grab them easily and join you in on this discussion. Tonight's going to be a fun one. It's one of my favorite topics. We talk a lot about this type of energy, sexual energy, in my day-to-day with the clients that we have. It's such a powerful thing to tap into, and you'll learn more about it tonight, no doubt. We have two beautiful human beings that we get to wander with tonight that will intrigue your mind and spark your heart with the desire to know yourself and your connections on a deeper level. So let's welcome them right away. Tonight we have both Dr. Elsbeth Meuth and Freddy Zental Weaver to the show, and together they hold space for humans to tap into their sexual energy through tantra practices and gain a deeper knowledge and appreciation of their breath, their bodies, and their ability to expand their love and relationships. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you so much, AJ. We are delighted to be here with you and all the listeners.
Thanks, AJ, for having us on. Glad to be here.
Wonderful. I have to say, the first time I ever saw the two of you, I thought, wow, that is one breathtaking couple. The two of you together are so beautiful, but you have like this bright and shiny aura alone and together. It's enchanting and breathtaking. And so I feel kind of spoiled tonight that I get to bask in that energy of yours.
Oh, that's sweet. Thanks, AJ.
Thank you. Thank you.
So good. So good. I love the magic that occurs in deep connections like this. I want that for everyone. I want that for myself. I want that for anyone who's willing to receive that type of love and energy for themselves and their partners. I think it's just absolutely beautiful. And our birthright. We're meant to have these experiences. So let's hear more about you guys on a personal level. We'll get to know you and your upbringing, which I heard all about when I grabbed your audiobook. We'll make sure everyone else knows how to do the same. And then we'll learn about how you came into each other's lives and why you chose to do what you do now with the people you come in contact with.
Wow, great.
So who
Yes.
wants to
Well,
go first?
yeah, I'm glad to open it up with thank you again for having us on. So my name is Freddy Zental Weaver, and I'm the partner of Dr. Elsbeth Meuth. We're beloveds, married. We've been doing this work in our institute for the last 21 years all over the world, and glad to be here tonight to share some of the concepts and ideas of what we're up to. I was first introduced to these practices when I was 13 years old. I was living in Hawaii, going through my puberty, spending a lot of time in the shower. My father was a practicing psychiatrist, and he probably thought I was going to hurt myself in there and gave me a book to read on sexual meditation. And
At
so
13. Wow,
at
that's
13,
awesome.
right. What a
Awesome.
insightful dad. And so I loved it. My girlfriend loved it. At the time, I was wanting to be an athlete in college on scholarship, playing basketball. But I had some ambivalence about my capacities of skill. Well, the practices allowed me in a very deep way to get past what my belief was about that. And I worked very hard. And I did go to college on athletic scholarship. After college, I kept doing these practices and reading books and going to workshops and applying these principles in my personal relationships. I was in the software business for a long time in San Francisco. When I started in that business, it was exciting and it was new, and I was really, really engaged. After about 15 years, it was just a job. So I was looking for a reinvigoration, a re-enlivening of my life, knowing what I knew about this work. And that was something that was missing and that I wanted to recreate. So there was an opportunity in Chicago. I'd never lived here before, and it was a good offer. So they hired me and moved me to Chicago. That was 21 years ago.
He really came here to meet me. He just didn't know it yet.
Yes.
That's right. I was intuitively, following myself. So I'm here, I'm single, I'm looking for Shakti, a female tantra partner online, and Elsbeth's profile showed up, and we met. In almost 6 months to the day, we, what I call, transcended the romantic drama. Most people have kids or buy a house. We created Tantra Nova. Elsbeth had already been on her own Tantra journey, which she'll tell you about in a moment. But we created this work, and last 21 years, books, tapes, television, worked all over the world teaching these practices and principles to people who some are introduced and some are totally new, about how they can learn to get more deeply connected and create what they really, really most deeply desire and want in their life, whether that's in relationship or work or where they live or whatever it might be. And so we're excited to be here tonight to unpack some of those concepts and ideas and the practices, how it works.
Yes, I'm excited for it also. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
What about you, Elsbeth?
Yeah, so quite different. I wish I would have had a dad who would have given me a book on sex consciousness when I was 13 years old. But I don't know about you, HA. That was not practice in my household where I grew up. So anyway, I, as you can tell probably from my accent, I was born and raised in Germany, grew up in a family of 10 children. And actually, in my early years as a child, I was very free in my body. I remember vividly on the hot summer days in Stuttgart, Germany, where I grew up, how we pulled out our umbrellas and went out to walk butt naked through the neighborhood. And there was nothing strange about it. But that totally changed as soon as I hit puberty. Mm-hmm. I got interested in all things sexual to the chagrin of my parents. And so they were not so easy, these years for me in my teenage years, because I didn't feel being supported there and, could be free. But anyway, in my late 20s, I came to the United States to do postgraduate work in music. And then a few years later, I moved on to get my doctorate in education. And then I became a management consultant. So I'm sharing this because this doesn't seem to be on the trajectory that I'm on now as a Tantra teacher. So what happened? While I was a management consultant and had gotten good at that, I felt quite miserable about relationship because I had this pattern of attracting unavailable men. And while that was exciting at times, most of the time I was alone. And there came a point when I got very despaired that I may never, have lasting intimacy and love in my life before I would leave this planet. And I just didn't want to settle for that. So that was the time when I deeply delved into studying Tantra. I was familiar with Tantra, but just from books, and never had taken on the study as a discipline. And in the work, in the tantric healing, and I entered the work because I wanted to see what was in the way for me, like what was right in front of me that I couldn't see, that kept me of, creating lasting intimacy and love in my life. And what I discovered was in the tantric healing was that I had held distrust towards men. Now, I didn't know about that. If you had met me like over 20 years ago, you never would have called me a distrusting bitch. I was kind. I was,
Charming.
charming.
You still are, darling.
And reeling them in and inviting and, all of that. But underneath, where I couldn't see, was that holding back, that not trusting. Mm-hmm. So in the tantric healing, given that in the practice of Tantra, we get accessed and we get spoken to and we explore into our physical, sexual, our emotional, our love self, our mental, our spiritual self, really a holistic way of connecting with ourselves. This is where I then tapped into this place, which was related to a time when I was 18 years old. First boyfriend, first love. We had a very blissful relationship. And then he asked me to have intercourse. I said yes, although I was not ready. And it was so painful. I had to go to the gynecologist, and then the bill went to my house. My dad opened it, all hell broke loose. He called me a whore. The boyfriend left the relationship a few weeks later, and there I was totally alone, no soul to turn to. And that was the moment when I made a decision, which was something like, see, Elsbeth, men are not there for you when you really need them. And that trailed, me throughout my young adulthood, then into my adulthood, not knowing that it was trailing me, but that was the place I guided my relationship with men. And so that is what all came up in the tantric healing. And while I had done some therapy around this experience in my 30s, which was helpful and good, so I thought it was all complete. Yet what I didn't know was that I couldn't access that memory that was on a cellular level that God touched into in the tantric healing ritual, because in talk therapy, we just talk about it. So it's accessed through linguistic way of communicating, so through the conscious mind. But what was holding me back was not in the conscious mind, it was in the subconscious. And so, what opened up in that ritual was that, like, when the pain came back by remembering the physical pain, the emotional pain, it was like opening a valve where it gets more intense first and then it fizzles out. In the same way that pain, became more intense and then fizzled out. And in place of all of that, what opened up for me was deeper trust in myself, then deeper trust in men in general. And then 6 months later, Freddy came into my life.
Ta-da!
And, I would not have recognized him. I would have seen him, he's tall, he's handsome, all of it. but I would not have recognized him as a potential partner because he didn't fit into my original pattern of looking for unavailability unconsciously, because he was available. So I'm so glad that I did my healing and clearing work.
Right?
So I was available. So when meeting a man who was available to me, I could see him, I could recognize him.
Yeah. That's what's amazing to me is just through my own experience when you do the work, how everything around you shifts. What you once found attractive or that you were into, you no longer are. Things change. But it's so perfect and the timing is amazing because look what has occurred ever since you chose to show up for yourself to do that healing.
Yeah,
That
this is a great example of what these practices can be for most people who come through our work. They have an idea of something that they want deeply, and yet if they could create it, they wouldn't be at our workshop. So there's something that they're not seeing that they're doing that's creating what they're getting.
yeah.
So in the practices and in the 3-day workshops that we teach, they go through a series of different processes that give them actionable insights. And there are a lot of ways to get actionable insights. Oh, thank you for helping me see why I fight with my wife because I fought with my mother and so on. Yet, how do we shift that? So intellectually is one way to get it, but then energetically, how do we really tap into shifting it in the moment, in the real? And that's where these practices are different from the typical approach to transformation. Working with life force or sexual energy is a new and yet old approach that anybody in a body can tap into. The sex is pretty powerful energy. You'd probably agree. First, it creates life. We all come through that process. And forever, we've been procreating with this energy, creating life. The last 100 or so years, recreating with the development of contraceptives. And now what we're sharing is how to co-create consciously with the altered state of consciousness that this energy puts us in, so that we can get more deeply connected to what we don't see by what we're creating, to then move with grace, ease, and flow towards what we most deeply desire. And that's what we found. That's why we've been around for 21 years, worked with thousands of couples and individuals. People get results from it.
Right. Right. And I love that it's not well, first of all, let me backtrack a little bit. People hear sexual energy and they automatically think A, B, and C, everything around and involving sex. When in all actuality, I look at sexual energy as, like you said, a life force energy, as a manifestation energy. Because when you clear all of that other energy that is blocking you from that life force energy, from that sexual energy, you're not living your full potential. You're not able to tap into all of the things that are available to you.
Yeah, let me say, it's kind of like, there's nothing good or bad or wrong about anything that we do in the sexual other than forcing ourselves on people. But in
Right.
terms of like pornography or in terms of just having the quickie in the morning or masturbation, that's all great. What's new for people is learning that there is actually a way to use this energy consciously to get more deeply connected to something that we don't see energetically, emotionally, in our story about ourselves and our belief systems. So it's not excluding any of the other things we do. It's adding to what we don't know about something that's been around that's so vital to us all.
Yeah, actually, I would say not just adding, it's a whole expansion of who we are as human beings, what our potential is. And just, AJ, what you also alluded to is like this energy to start engaging with this energy in an aware way. And perhaps we should talk a little bit about energy, because it's curious that none of us had a course in high school or college about human energy. I didn't. In biology class, nobody talked about human energy.
No.
I learned about, nuclear energy and electrical energy, thermal energy, but I didn't learn about my own human energy that runs through us. That energy runs through us all the time. Otherwise, we wouldn't be alive. It is given into us at conception, and then it leaves us when we are leaving the planet. And energy goes hand in hand with the breath. When we don't breathe, we die. I mean, it's rather obvious. So if they go together in dying, they must also go together when we are alive. And that is what we really, put to use here in the tantric practice, is to become aware of our breath. Because when I become aware of my breath beyond the automatic breathing that we are all doing, like the reflexive breathing, our lungs are designed to, gasp for air when there is not enough oxygen in the lungs. So it's really great that this is built into us. We don't have to think about it. However, when we do that kind of breathing, we breathe up in the chest, which activates the sympathetic nervous system that can make us more anxious, more, being outside of ourselves. Excuse me. I think I need to do one of them.
Yeah, one of the fundamental pieces to, tapping into something we don't see is the breath, because we are all these heady, Homo sapiens. We can think, we're aware of our own existence, yet we're all this clay. So we remember things from the past, like Elsbeth's story that happened early in her life became an embedded way of being and seeing into the world. Even though she did a lot of therapeutic understanding of it, there was still a place that she didn't see energetically that believed that there weren't any available men. And when she got into the sexual energetic practices as a place to transform that, she was able to get more deeply connected to that abyss of energetic and emotional and story self that wasn't available in the usual state that we're in. It's that altered state that happens. So they're very specific practices that one has to practice to be in that awareness of energy. And the breath is one of them that Elsbeth started talking about.
Yes. So thank you so much for picking up for me here.
You're welcome.
I am back.
Don't forget it.
So anyway, so that because this whole thing around energy is so essential in the context of what we are talking about, because that given that we haven't learned about our own human energy, we are not familiar with engaging with that energy. So when we learn to, use our breath, guide our breath into all the way down into the belly, like the diaphragmatic breath or parasympathetic breath, it's really, we have to do this consciously. It doesn't happen, on its own. And in a moment, we actually can do a little practice so that everyone who is listening can tap right into it. So with the focus of the conscious mind and guiding the energetic breath down into the belly actually activates the parasympathetic nervous system that has us feel good, activates, the feel good hormones. And so we come into a state of ease, we become more connected. And the whole point here is to become more connected with ourselves so that we are more in flow. And then in the flow of our physical sexual self, with our heart and love self, with our mental and spiritual self, so that we can flow instead of being compartmentalized. Like often we get, as children, we are told not to touch our genitals or not to masturbate or not to go there until we are married. And then whose energy is it? It's always been my energy. So how would it be to introduce our adolescent boys and girls or young men and women to how they can engage with that energy and channel that energy, become aware of it? Right. So back to the life force energy that is sexual energy, just showing up at different gradations. It's the same energy. It's not sexual energy is not different from life force energy. It's the energy that brought us into this life. It just shows up in different shades, in different states. So like right now, sitting here, some of you are listening, I'm speaking. I assume that, we are now in a subtle state. At least I don't assume that anyone is aroused.
Speak for yourself, darling.
Yes.
He is sitting next to you.
Yeah. So, and then when I walk by Lake Michigan and the breeze, touches my hand and it feels really nice. There may be not a high arousal, but slightly aroused, pleasant feeling.
Mhm.
And then, of course, all the way up, to a climactic moment, an ejaculatory moment. These are all on the same, that's all life force energy, just at different gradations. And so we want to learn to listen and play that life force energy at these different states, just like we play a flute. And that can really expand the experience, the pleasure, the joy, the circulating, sustaining of bliss.
I'm really excited that we're talking about this subject tonight because so many people shy away from it because of the conditioning we have as we grow. We don't get the proper education at home, and we definitely aren't getting it at school on average, right? Not everyone has Freddy's parents, his father. Not everyone was that fortunate. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, let's learn more about this life force energy and the breath that connects us to it. Stay close, everyone.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Scrolling all day, time can disappear. Wanna make it count? Why not volunteer?
Posting pics of your food, that takes up time. Time, you've got time to binge all of season 9, though it got so bad.
Time, you got time. We're gonna grow back and be the same browse you had.
Just a few hours to keep families from harm. Help us end home fires, but sound the alarm.
Volunteer for a day to install free smoke alarms in your community.
Discover the Observation Deck, a one-of-a-kind virtual event platform that takes video conferencing to the next level by using avatars to navigate a campus. There's so many areas and activities to choose from. There's a 1,000-seat auditorium, an expo hall, a nightclub, and even a beach. So come attend a conference, take a class, or hear a lecture on the incredible Observation Deck campus. Go to theobservationdk.com.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected. Only at kgradb.com.
Hello, Wanderers. Welcome back. We are here on KGRADB.com as well as KGRA Digital Broadcasting under Facebook and YouTube pages. So if you want to hang out with us there in the chat room, it's a great place for you to ask questions. We do have questions coming for our guests, which is so good. I love when the guests or the listeners interact with our guests. I love it. This is what this is about, the connection and the interaction between all of us. So thanks for hanging in here with me through my squeaks tonight. We are hanging out with Dr. Elsbeth Meuth and Freddy Zental Weaver. They just newly released an audiobook called Sexual Enlightenment: How to Create Lasting Fulfillment in Life, Love, and Intimacy. And I listened to it over the last couple of days, and it's good. So there's a link for you guys to check into it. I really, really enjoyed it because not only is there history of their lives, but there's also practices for you to do in your free time when you're available to do so. And they're powerful. I'm telling you, I did one yesterday. Yes. The chakra one. It was so good. I've been to a lot of meditations and breath works and all kinds of things, but there was something really magical about the way that it was done and the way that it was interpreted. And you'll have to try it out for yourself. It was really fantastic. So both of you, thank you for being here. I'm so happy to have you. You've been on my list for some time. I've been looking forward to this connection.
Great being here, AJ. Yeah, it's really great to talk to people about this work because once they start hearing it, sounds familiar, yet it seems so elusive because sex is so, it's loaded. It's shame and fear and guilt and story and broken hearts and all of that. Right. And we know how to make babies and we know how to just be, pornographic, yet to think of it as a way that we can use it in addition to all of that, a way to get more deeply connected to what we want to create in our life, coming from we're the authors of our life.
Yes.
And so that's where it becomes really powerful for people. We could teach these practices to nuns and priests if they were vowed to celibacy. It's about what this energy represents as a way of being and listening. And that's what transforms for people when they get into the practices and start bringing consciousness to the sexual.
Right. And what I like about it is that you don't necessarily have to be partnered up. Like if you're single, you can tap into this energy. It's not about being in a relationship, although it definitely enhances it. It's about tapping into your own energy, which I just think is really amazing.
Yeah, exactly. People can be, even if you're in a relationship, when you come to do the work, you're still doing your own work,
Yes,
so
exactly.
Just in relationship is where we get mostly triggered. And we can start to, we can easily blame the other for our upsets and our disconnects. If she only didn't I would feel blah, 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 And really, once you start owning your own upsets, you can make requests or see where it's just you and has nothing to do with anything else out there. So in relationship is an opportunity to really transform a lot of disconnects.
So
yes, I like that.
Yeah, AJ, I started out solo because that was the very point for me. I wanted to find out what was over here with me that kept me from having this fulfilling, lasting relationship, So, and also in terms of life force energy, each of us is gifted with this, phenomenal life-giving energy that is totally coordinated with the breath. And so the exploration into ourselves opens up that we are actually the circuit of energy that runs through us at all times, just like blood runs through us at all times without our knowing and our doing. In the same way, energy runs through us all the time without our knowing and doing. And as the arteries and veins are the grid for the blood flow, the nervous system is the grid for energy flow. And there was a question just a moment ago about the meridians. I'm not familiar with the exact term the person used, that field. However, what I can say is that the nervous system gets actually listened to and activated through learning how to move and guide energy throughout our body, our being, how that shows up in emotions, how that shows up in thoughts, which are all frequencies. The thoughts and emotions, love is like vibrates at 500 hertz and hate vibrates at 100 hertz. So the higher we are in terms of frequency, the better we feel in our physical being, in our emotional being, in our mental and spiritual being. So we want to start to listen for how that energy that runs through us all the time in a circulatory way, how that shows up in our physical body as sensations, in our emotional body as emotions, and in our mental body as thoughts. Because the thoughts I think affect my emotions and affect the way how I feel in my body. So all of that is part of the becoming aware when we learn to tune with our energy and including our sexual aroused energy. So, what about if we do a practice?
Well, I wanted to say a little bit more about, some of the foundations of before we get into the practice.
Good.
So,
we have plenty of time.
We have lots of time, and I wanted to really kind of set the groundwork as we get into the practices. So there's some foundational pieces to working consciously with life force energy. And the first piece, which we mentioned earlier, is the breath. Because as Elsbeth said, we breathe sympathetically in the upper chest. We don't think about it. And when we bring the breath down into the diaphragm and do diaphragmatic breathing, then we start to, one, oxygenate our body more efficiently. We produce more endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin, the feel-good hormones. Also, we give the busy mind, the story mind, a little bit of a break from the conversation or whatever we've got going on that's creating what we call the total felt sense of the story, the traffic. And then now, because I'm wound up about that, my heart rate's up, I'm sweating, I'm anxious, right? The total felt sense of the conversation internally. As Elsbeth said, the thoughts are as powerful as anything else that we could ever do that affect our reality, our physical reality. So when we can start to get a little distance from the stories, which come from a lot of places from the past, and they're foundational for us. So to shift them really requires the witness. And then we, over a short period of time with the breathing and watching that, looking at what we want to create, we start to flatten the old story and the total felt sense of that story and start moving towards what we most deeply desire. But we want to do a practice with you. I think Elsbeth just mentioned a breathing practice, and I'll lead you through it. So,
is that okay?
Yes.
It's not long.
I want our listeners to join in also.
Yes.
Everyone will do the same.
Great. So listeners and AJ, seated up comfortably, as on top of your sit bones as you can be, that you're comfortable being. And your eyes can be open, closed, or soft focus, where they're just like slightly open and just gazing without putting a lot of focus on anything that comes in front of your vision. And you want to bring awareness to your breath now, and put a hand on your belly and bring awareness to your breath through the nose, down the trachea, lungs, extending into your diaphragm, which will extend the belly like a big balloon on your inhalation. Really feel that extension. And follow your breath back up and out through your nose in your own pace, depth, and rhythm. Continue that way of breathing, and I'm going to say a few more things. As you focus your breath on your breathing, your mind will continue to be busy. You will have moments of stillness. So focusing on the breath, following it into the nose, trachea, lungs, extending into the diaphragm and belly like a big balloon on your inhalation. Following with your awareness, your breath back up and out through your nose in your own pace, depth, and rhythm. As conversations and stories and interpretations and meaning come into your awareness, just allow it, let it be, let it go. Bring your awareness back to following your breath. Feeling the rise of your belly on your inhalation, flattening of your belly on your exhalation. For most of us, we could do that for about 3 breaths before our mind gets distracted. Allow yourself the time and be gentle with yourself as things come up to stay focused on your breathing.
And while you are watching the belly rising on the inhale and the belly falling on the exhale, communing with yourself, notice how the breath is moving through you effortlessly now. You're just watching the breath coming and going. And while you continue breathing in this way, take a moment and notice how you are feeling right now. Notice how your body is feeling. Notice any sensations in your body. Now notice your emotional state. Just notice, nothing to be done. And notice your state of mind, your state of thought. And then slowly come back by opening your eyes. And AJ, if you could be so kind and share perhaps how you are feeling right now and how your body is feeling.
Okay. So I literally feel tingles all up and down my legs and arms. And I feel super, incredibly relaxed.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
the tingles are cool.
Yeah. That happened quickly.
Is that normal? Is that what happened?
For you, it's normal now. But for you, absolutely.
Good. I'm going to do that more often.
Well,
yeah, you seem to drop in very quickly.
Yeah, well, I meditate a lot, so breath is very important in that process.
This is the most valuable thing we can do, is some time where we just sit and let the mind be busy without giving it a lot of attention and focus. Just let it go. Many people say, I'm too busy, my mind's too busy, and it'll always be busy. But what we can learn to do is watch the thoughts and the story without the total felt sense of the story. And that's where we can start to move with grace, ease, and flow, what we can imagine creating in our life and having.
Yeah. So also let's look at the beauty of this practice, which of course allows us through that deep breath to relax in our physical body, to, in our emotional being, a little less busyness in the mind, but also perhaps everyone who just did the practice with us, perhaps you felt how you could watch and follow the breath moving through you, down into the belly and then back up again. That is what we call then the flow of the energetic breath. And that is what you can cultivate further so that you can move energy with the breath into your big toe, into your nose. You can release tension energy or bring in delightful energy. So we can really play with it. And of course, that breathing practice is at the very foundation that then at more advanced stages allows us to move our aroused energy from our sexual center up into our heart, and from our heart sending down love energy into our sexual center. The sexual center of the woman in Sanskrit is called yoni, Y-O-N-I, and yoni translated means sacred space. So imagine you, AJ, and I, and every woman who is listening today, if we had been introduced to our sexual center as a sacred space when we were teenagers, perhaps our trajectory, at least I know for myself, if I had been introduced to my sexual center as a sacred space, my relationship to my sexual self had gone quite differently, because the sacred space is a place you honor, you cherish, you love, you respect, and then make sure that whoever you may want to invite into that sacred space does the same. So, and for the men, the sexual center or his sexual organ is called lingam, Lingam. It means magic wand or wand for
of light. And for the man in this beginning practice can expand into learning how to circulate what we call this orgasmic nectar. So say a little bit about that. Is that so? Men, mostly we learn that there's the ejaculation and there's the orgasm, and they are synonymous, and there's no difference. Yet we can learn to separate ejaculation from the orgasmic feeling, the euphoric feeling. And that's partly done with breathing, a muscle awareness exercise, and energetic awareness. And we teach men and women how to work with this energy in a way that they can extend and expand and bathe in that ether. And because it seems like something that just happens at the moment for 3 seconds or a few moments. Yet when we really bring consciousness to the pleasure and the sensation of the energy and what's happening muscularly, we can actually extend that out to a wave, and it becomes a whole nother way of being in that altered state, particularly when you do it as a ritual practice, as we teach it in the workshops, towards an intention. Because it's in that altered state with intention that we can get more connected to a lot of the story and energy that keeps us locked in a place. And that's really kind of the magic of how this all comes together as a practice of transformation.
Let's just also interject right away when Freddy said that we teach in the workshop that practice. So there's no nudity in our workshops, no public nudity. All intimate practices and rituals are being done in the privacy of, the couple's home, or the students go to
their hotel, wherever they are. And we designed it that way intentionally.
Yeah. So people can feel safe and really do their own work.
I like that, because then people are more comfortable and have the ability to really soak into the experience instead of worrying about what the couple over here is doing or the person over there is doing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is so triggering already, you know?
Right.
So, because it's really the purpose of our work is to support people in connecting more deeply with themselves and out of that with their partner if they are in couplehood, So what's most important is that the space feels safe. Because so many of us didn't feel that when they were growing up, or when they had their first experience, or they were sexually abused or molested, or it just was not safe to reveal myself. So we have to wade through, these barriers and through these armors. And so it's so important that there is a safe space. Now, also, the sexual healing practices and rituals we're talking about, that's not what we start out with. We actually start out with cultivating emotional intimacy. The sexual piece, the sexual work comes at the advanced level. So that before we get to the advanced level, there's a lot of work on becoming familiar with that energy that runs through us in subtle levels, how that shows up in my emotional being, how I may, really struggle with just receiving in a bodywork practice that is not sexual in nature, that even being touched in a conscious way may be a challenge for someone. No, some women have that. They feel more comfortable when they're in the giving role, because then we are in control, But receiving can be very challenging if there is some wounding around trust.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And when you were sharing your story, I thought, wow, you had this experience that blossomed into something just absolutely breathtaking, because you healed some trauma on some levels that you were holding on unconsciously. And I think, wow, through this type of work, you're able to really go deeper and work on those levels. That's just incredible to me.
This is the thing, AJ, is that we all have ideas of what we'd like to have in our life to be happy and fulfilled. And we also are all this clay that remembers from the past.
Yes.
And particularly very deep impacting moments like the one Elsbeth shared. We all have something like that in our life, and we keep potty training. I mean, we all, things that were deep. We got through it because we were children, and you do what you need to do just automatically to get through something to continue to exist. Yet what connects us also with even these carbon units that we are that are organic, that will, eventually erode and disappear. What connects us to this ongoing foreverness of the universe is our imagination, to perceive something that's never been before in our life. So it's in this practice that we can start to let go or see through the stuff that keeps us stuck in a place. It's that altered state of that sexual, what we call intelligence, that allows us this space with these particular distinctions of breath, energy awareness, intention, right? We can start to move with, again, grace, ease, and flow with and towards this thing that we see that's possible. It starts to become definable. And this is what we've seen thousands of times over and over with people. They come in with something they want to create or want to have in their life, and they start to learn how to get out of their own way through these practices.
Look at this more, who would come, so that also you are listening today can really see, what that could mean to you and what the opportunity for openings there are. So, people are in different places when they show up at the doors of Tantra Nova. So there may be a couple that is very happily married. However, they feel there is could be something more to their connection, or an expanded way, that they haven't experienced. So that could be one kind of couple, or another kind of a couple could be like they are at the brink of divorce or separation, and they may have tried, marriage counseling or something, therapy, and it just didn't do the trick for them. So they may come up and may use the work here, as a last resort. And often it's amazing what shows up, because the couple starts relating in new ways, not so much from the head. That doesn't mean that our mind is not involved in the work, but a big part is to connect heart to heart again, because that is immediate, and there is love in every human being. Another couple may, find themselves at a place where the kids have left home. They are in college now, and they get to meet each other again. And in some ways, they feel like estranged two bodies that they don't know how to bring together, Or another couple may be that it could be, they are in a very new relationship, midlife, and they don't want to make the same mistakes. They want to learn from the beginning how to create intimacy and love consciously. And all singles come, perhaps a single who really struggles with bringing in the beloved into their life and really wants that and shifting what's in the way. Or, a single that may come and really wants to connect with themselves, like relationship with self, deepening that connection. And then also some people come, they are very curious about what we talked about earlier, how they could channel their sexual energy so that they can transmute it throughout their body into their project. So that are various ways of why people may show up here.
There are so many ways. And that's what I think is so neat. It's not just, like I said earlier, it's not just sexual. This is so much bigger than that. And the story, there were some stories that were shared in the book we'll get to. We're going to have to take a quick break. But before we get to that, as you were doing the breathing techniques with us, I just want to share that we had a comment that they felt tingly and fuzzy. And one said, that was awesome. And another was like, wow. So everyone had a really positive experience with that. Thank you for sharing that with us. That was really neat. And to those of you who are just joining us, stay close. The second hour is completely commercial free. So we get an entire hour more with these beautiful humans tonight. Stay close and we'll be right back.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Scrolling all day, time can disappear. Wanna make it count? Why not volunteer?
Posting pics of your food, that takes up time. Time, you've got time to binge all of season 9, though it got so bad.
Time, you got time. We're gonna grow back and be the same browse you had.
Just a few hours to keep families from harm. Help us end home fires with Sound the Alarm.
Volunteer for a day to install free smoke alarms in your community.
Discover the Observation Deck, a one-of-a-kind virtual event platform that takes video conferencing to the next level by using avatars to navigate a campus. There's so many areas and activities to choose from. There's a 1,000-seat auditorium, an expo hall, a nightclub, and even a beach. So come attend a conference, take a class, or hear a lecture on the incredible Observation Deck campus. Go to theobservationdk.com.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected. Only at kgradb.com.
Hello, welcome back. I am AJ Rasmussen, your host, and this is Soul Wanderings. We are heard all over the world every Wednesday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. If you want to learn more about myself and the show, go to kgradb.com. I'm hosted here as well as several other hosts and shows. We talk about all of the things that others don't talk about. So if you have questions about the universe, about sex, like tonight, about anything else, this is the station for you to be on. If you are wanting to hop right in and get backseat passes or backstage passes, I should say, and get like behind the scenes content and more, you'll want to grab a membership, and I can offer you 30% off your annual membership by using the promo code SOUL21. That's SOUL 21. I would say do that and you'll save some money, which is good. We all like saving those pennies. Tonight we are hanging out with two amazing guests, both Dr. Elsbeth Meuth and Freddy Zental Weaver. And they have assisted more than 10,000 couples and singles in rekindling and expanding their love and relationships over the past decade. But it's safe to say, after spending some time with them tonight, they've done much more than that. Sounds like some healing has occurred on some big levels, which I just love. That's my favorite thing. I'm like, let's dig in and find out where the light needs to be shown. It's so beautiful to have you both here. Thanks again. I really appreciate your time and your energy and your authenticity and the way that you approach topics that a lot of people don't talk about because it's so taboo, or they just haven't been educated, or they just don't know. Or I feel like most people want to and they just don't know what questions to ask. And you're covering quite a bit tonight. So if there's anyone else out there who has a question that hasn't been covered, make sure you're hanging out with us on YouTube, Facebook, under KGRA Digital Broadcasting. And that way we can get your question answered. Welcome back, beautiful humans.
Hello, AJ. I want to say, again, thank you, but I want to say a little bit about what men get out of this in general. All the variations of Tantra that there are, we're Tantra Nova, Tantra Nu, so we're integrating aspects of the East and the West in terms of transformation. And Tantra was one of the original yogas of the energetic body, as opposed to Hatha yoga of the physical body, which most people are familiar with. Yet it's all energy. We're just a denser form of it. As we mentioned earlier in the show, our thoughts are as powerful as any other energy we would do or could manifest. So for men, one of the primary things is to learn to separate ejaculation from orgasm. And a lot of guys have heard about Tantra because they'll be a better lover, they'll be more attuned and so on, or there's some trick to it. Or they heard Sting say, "Oh, I make love with my wife for 8 hours at a time." And it's not just boom, 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 boom for 8 hours. I mean, there'd be broken hips and people in wheelchairs. No, it's a whole process of feeding one another and breathing together and fast love and slow love and massaging and eye gazing and all of those things. So the work will inform your mutual lovemaking. And what we're sharing, though, again, is how to use it as a transformational practice in addition to all the other things we do. So for the man, it's beginning to learn how to separate ejaculation from orgasm. We have lots of couples that come to us at the peak of their sexual aliveness in their 30s, their 40s. And she's like, "I don't know if he loves me." And he's like, "Of course I love you, honey," pointing at his erection. And she's like, "Yeah, but can you kiss me with your heart?" And that's not something most guys learn. I mean, we have two emotions that are okay for guys. That's fucking or fighting. So for men to get that they can actually be very nurturing and that they can cry and they can feel. And, when they get the sense that is available to them, then expands their whole, emotional breadth of experience in this life. So the practice of separating ejaculation from orgasm is a big deal for a lot of guys. It's not just a trick, because on the path to do that, there's a very specific physiological muscle control and breath awareness that they learn, but also there's an emotional letting go of attachment, of jealousy, of falling in love, of all the things that this sexual energy is: shame, fear, guilt.
So preoccupied with their magic wand, is it too big, is it too small, and how long, performance oriented. So there's a lot of pressure also. Right.
So a lot of those are part of the practice of becoming more available to what this energy can be. And it's a freeing experience for men. And most men report that they've never had that quite of a relationship with themselves before. So there's a self-love practice that we teach for men. And we won't go too much into detail with that, but it's different from masturbation. It's learning how to circulate this orgasmic vector along with intention. And they can start to use the energy, that altered state, to get, again, more deeply connected to what they don't see that's running in the background, to allow bases and flow towards what they most deeply want to create.
I love that you brought that up. That is so important for men to know.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah. And it's also, adolescent men and men in their 20s, nobody gets actually initiated into manhood, or also for girls into womanhood, in that realm of that sexual, spiritual access. And so also, I mean, when we look at male sexual energy, we could describe it like, rising quickly. I think I need to do it the other way around. So male sexual energy rises quickly, gets easily excited, and then drops quickly. Unlike feminine energy that rises slowly. We don't know if it's coming or going. However, when it's reawakened, it can come up to a plateau, and excuse me, darling, and then, stay up on that plateau for a long time, multiple orgasms, orgasmic waves, just being in the ether. So we speak about male sexual energy based in testosterone, the quick hormone. Unlike, the feminine sexual energy based in estrogen, the slow hormone. There's a biological aspect to it, and there's a behavioral aspect to it. So for men, it's really about that the man learns how to, breathe up from the sexual center up into his heart, so he can circulate it. Because when the energy gets spilled, there is a loss of energy, and then there's a disconnect for the man with himself. And I also want to say, when we speak about that, this is not just men and women, this is for everyone who is more in their sexual or in their masculine or yang self, because it could be same-sex couples or bisexual couples or transgender people, that it's in terms of energy, it's that there's always, when we come together as two people, unless there is polarity of yin and yang, or feminine and masculine, there is no magnetism, So when we say masculine energy, it doesn't only apply to men. It also could be a woman who is more in her masculine, particularly also in the sexual realm.
And an awareness in relationship is really important, because that whole thing shifts around. And in relationship, women do some things that seem more masculine, and men do some things that seem more feminine. And to be able to play in that polarity based in whatever energy you are really makes a big difference in the flow, continuity of communication.
Doesn't mean that I always have to be in my feminine energy. I can be in my masculine energy. We just want to be in balance there. If I'm mostly in my masculine energy, it doesn't give Freddy the opportunity to be him in his masculine. Or if we are both in the masculine together, then we are just like this. Guess what? There is no flow possible. If we are both in our yin energy, it's like all over the place. So these two of the yang and the yin, they complement each other very well. And we want to learn to dance more in this. So back to this example of where the man learns to not lose his wonderful life force energy, but to circulate it. Right. Because then he can stay in this energy. And men can also have multiple orgasms and orgasmic waves. It's just something a man needs to cultivate. It doesn't come, by itself. So also what opens up is then when he can circulate that up into his heart, he connects with her heart. So she can trust him when he is connected. I have to keep this in the screen, then she has time. So he holds space for her so that her energy can rise. And then we can dance the dance together, the wave together, Instead of this, he comes and goes, and then she hangs out there. He's gone, and like this.
Yeah, when men learn to... Right.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. And when men learn to circulate this orgasmic nectar and meet her at her heart, they can stay engaged, because once we have the ejaculation and the orgasm, we're pretty much disengaged. until the energy comes back. But to learn that you can also have a wonderful, pleasurable experience with yourself or with your partner and have more energy for the next day if you don't ejaculate, to travel or work or whatever you're doing, because energy essentially is one. It starts out as one. Energy is one. And then it manifests as a lot of things: anger, happiness, sadness, sexual energy, which is unique because it can create life. So when we learn to transmute this energy, again, we can use it for a lot of different things. And particularly in relationship, we can stay engaged with our female partners.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. Every couple, every man needs to learn this.
And it's
Yes,
not
also, it's really a wonderful way for men to mature.
Yes. I was going to say, I can't imagine for them just to be able to stand in their own power, if you will, just to feel confident in themselves and their being, because I can see from my experiences and those who I speak with, how the men just feel like, and I feel like I remember hearing this in your book, but there was a man who felt the same way, like their partner had miscommunicated or not communicated at all, that they were unsatisfied or even faking orgasm. And so it makes them feel inadequate, not good enough, all of these other lower vibrational emotions. And then the communication isn't there. And so all of this unnecessary suffering happens.
Right. So a lot of things can be eliminated in more ease and flow in the process of bringing consciousness to the sexual aspect of our beingness. And I can't think of anything more spiritual. I mean, something that creates light, and yet it's so vilified in our world. So, when we started our work, AJ, I used to say, this is really about bringing peace to the planet. And Elsbeth would say, "Oh my God, don't say that," because people are coming like, peace on the planet. I just want to have a better orgasm, But once you get into the work, you see it's bigger than just the bedroom.
And
that's why I was so excited to have you on the show, because it people automatically see anything that has to do with sex and they're like, oh geez, like they don't understand just how magnificent and beautiful and breathtaking and amazing the connection can truly be. And it's not the actual act of intercourse. It's so much broader than that.
Yes.
Yeah, because where that energy leads us to, can you imagine a world where people are in the energy of what that energy creates for us, in that loving vibration? I mean, that's when peace on earth is just a thought away, and it would become a reality from the thought, because that's what we would be, is that energy, that vibration, and without touching anybody, just being in that energy. And so that's what happens when we bring consciousness to it.
And how privileged Freddy and I are to share this with the world. This is where I really woke up in my life, that when I had healed and got clear, this is what I want to share with others, left the consulting firm and really created this. And then, what blessings that Freddy came into my life, and that we could and are still creating this together so that we can make a difference in people's lives around what it means to love, what it means to connect in that sexual dimension that is so life-giving in so many ways. What it means to connect with our spiritual self while we are integrated with our sexual self, and how we that then bring to the relationship where we circulate that energy and really are in this dance of becoming one. And it's just, thank you so much for allowing us to share this with your community.
Oh, it's our honor. Thank you. There was a story in the book. I want to say her name was Mary Ann. Does that sound right? She had been in and out of relationships where she gave, and she never felt like the love was reciprocated. And she never felt like she was getting anything back that she was giving. And there's so many women who are out in the world having these similar experiences. I know for me, for the longest time, I am a giver. I just give and give and give. But learning to let go of the expectations because that's just something that fills my bucket. But there's something I feel like inside of every woman, and correct me if I'm wrong because you had more experience with them, but there's like this empty void spot that doesn't seem to get filled by anybody. It's not something that a partner can fill, a relationship can fill, a hobby can fill. There's just always this little void. And I feel like after hearing her experience and the work she did with you, that totally transformed and that emptiness that she always had inside of her was gone.
Yeah, so that's so great that you bring this up, because it's that the fulfillment really lives within. You know, the fulfillment we often look for outside, with another, and it's not really available there. Now, that doesn't mean that we couldn't create fulfillment together, but if I'm not fulfilled within myself, if I have to look for love outside, then there's really no solution, because love is not outside.
Right.
I am love. I'm loving. I love. And when I'm in my wholeness of my heart, then coming together with another's wholeness in their heart, we can create together, instead of looking for something that I feel I don't have, or I need this from another so that I can feel love. Creation is not possible. I really go there to get something because I don't feel being complete. So really a big part of the work is also that each of us connects with our wholeness and completeness. That is because it's an illusion that we are not complete, and we learn it when we grow up. We look for love or be loved by our parents, and we may not get as much as we want. So we are very much externally referenced in terms of love. Mm-hmm. So I think the maturing process as human beings is really to get, and it's not to be gotten intellectually. It doesn't work that way. It's an experience that we can drop into, that I am love. And when I encounter another, I don't encounter him because I need something. No, I'm already whole. So I can share my love with him, and the other one can share their love with me. And that is where creation opens up. So relationship becomes then a fountain of creation.
See, there's a lot of story around suffering for people. And it's, as Elsbeth said, external reference, that there's something outside that is subjecting me to my life. Once we start to do this work and we start sourcing and getting that there is choice, I can't change the weather, but I can change how I feel about it, as an example.
Exactly.
Then we can start to apply that same principle and these practices to shifting how we are in relationship. Because as I mentioned earlier, in relationship is where we get the biggest triggers. We're fine just passing people on the street that we don't know. We don't care what they're wearing or what they're, saying on the phone. But when we get to our personal relationships, it's like, what are you doing? How could you do that? What do you mean? Right. As opposed to getting, oh, wait, I forgot this person is actually an individual. They have their own interpretation of what's happening. So once we get that we are responsible for our experiences, and really listening to what our joy and pleasure is, and what really resonates with us in terms of how we're living our life, the people in our life, then we can start to enjoy more fully this life. And this is, again, what happens for people who start doing this work. Because, again, as I mentioned, I can't say it enough, in the altered state of the transformative energies that happen in the sexual aliveness, either with a partner or without a partner, with distinctions of awareness of energy and breath and intention. I'm not talking about all the other things we do with sex that are wonderful, because for those few moments, which is why we continue to procreate on the planet, is because it's wonderful. We love it. Right? So when we start using it also to be conscious and how we can listen more deeply to our life, it's a guide, because this intelligent energy was creating life before we had language. There is an intelligence, and when we bring our intelligence to it, our consciousness to it, the elements of that energy, creativity, it creates life, and pleasure, start to show up in areas of life that seem completely unrelated to sex in the simple process of living itself. So instead of saying, well, I hate my job, 30 more years of retirement, that dog doesn't hunt anymore, because what it brings on when I say that as a reaction in my thoughts and the total felt sense of the thought, because I'm listening again in another vibrational way. I wouldn't even say that. Why not be grateful? Yeah, so that's the thing. And that's how it really starts to become bigger than the bedroom when you start doing these practices.
Yeah. That's what's so fascinating about it to me. When I was listening to your book, I understood like the concept of what you did because I'm familiar with Tantra. But the way that you practice it, how you, like you said, you bring in both the Eastern and the Western, and you've created your own practice. It's so much bigger than anything sexual. It's trying to find the words that are substantial enough because it's that big, right? It's so life altering to us on every platform in our lives.
Yes, everything. It really affects everything. And the being connected in a free, shame-free, embarrassment-free, fear-free way with that wonderful life force energy that, much time of our life shows up in a subtle way. And there are times when it shows up in an aroused way. And really tapping into that energy as a source of aliveness, vitality, joy, and learning how to, really channel that energy. And that can just be so life-giving in our daily life. And we are not talking about having sex with everybody.
Right.
This is
That's
the
what
thing.
people make assumptions about.
Yeah, it's so loaded. The sexual thing is so loaded. To even think of it as a spiritual practice is foreign as a concept to most people.
Right.
And yet, again, I can't think of anything more spiritual than creating life. So there's so much old story and history around the evilness of sex and the vilification of sex.
Right.
That as we continue to expand our consciousness and these concepts become more commonplace in knowledge, like we're doing. So, AJ, thank you so much for your platform, because more people will get curious, who maybe don't know.
Yeah. And also that there's something else possible and available, including healing from imprints and wounds, including how can I take myself to a new expansion of being alive, of being fully self-expressed with myself, around myself. And then for people who are in relationship, how can they enliven the relationship and be creative? Because the ingredients of that energy are, creativity and pleasure. It is the most creative energy. As Freddy earlier said, it brings forth life. Nuclear energy is very powerful too, but it cannot bring forth life. And the other dimension is pleasure, joy, enjoyment. It can be the sweetest feeling that we may ever experience, And so how can we move with that? How can we move within? How can we move in the beloved relationship and keep this alive so that every day is an expression of intimate connection, not just starting when it comes to the bedroom. The bedroom is just another level then.
Right. And you guys have been doing this, you said 21 years?
Yes, this is our 21st year celebration anniversary. We've been together, as I said, 6 months to the day we met, we created this work.
That's amazing. It's so amazing. So you've worked with, you said, over 10,000 different couples. Do you ever stand back in awe and think, wow, of all the people that you have helped rediscover themselves and their relationships? The work you're doing is so powerful. Do you ever just bask in that goodness?
No, we don't too much get, carried away with ourselves, but we do rejoice after every workshop. I'm in awe of bringing people together in a workshop who are some introduced and some brand new. And the moment transforms within a couple hours of the workshop, people have dropped in.
3 days.
At the end, for sure. But things shift immediately. And at the end, it's just like I'm inspired because that's what's possible in the world.
Right. And I wonder why these type of experiences aren't taught more often because of the big experiences that can occur, right? I mean, we don't talk about these topics openly. I think about the younger generations. I feel like they're more free and they're more open with their sexuality. I'm not sure if it's the type of energy that I would agree with. For me personally, that they're all over the place, right? But to rein that in, and have the awareness that they have, the freedom that they have with their energy, I feel like it's becoming more mainstream.
Absolutely.
Do you feel like that with your clients?
Well, I want to just add, I think with the information dissemination highway of the internet and the proliferation of pornography, we're moving in the direction of more just of awareness of sexuality. Even though it's kind of like people are just beginning to say, oh, wow, there's a McDonald's burger. Let me eat as many of those as I can. And that's what they're gorging themselves on pornography. But then it's going to be like, well, okay, what else can we do with this energy? And then they'll be ready to learn some other techniques in meditation.
Let's make a distinction here, because while there is greater freedom around the sexual in the, millennials and younger, there is not necessarily more consciousness.
Exactly. That's what I was referring to.
Yes. So, our book is called Sexual Enlightenment, which has to do with becoming conscious, because we call the sexual dimension really the last frontier of becoming more aware and conscious. We have done much more learning in terms of our emotional self over the last 50 or 60 years, really to a great credit of therapy that has allowed us to feel our emotions, to express our emotions, to speak about our emotions. If someone went to therapy in the 1950s, they were considered a little crazy or needy, Nowadays, some people go every week to see their therapist because it's a kind of a reset. So, but also what opened up through that is really allowing to express and feel emotion. So we have done more work as a society around that, bringing awareness to that. Also through yoga and meditation that has come over from the Far East, we have become, more familiar at least with reflection, contemplation, lowering the busyness of the mind. I mean, there's still lots more work to be done, but at least we have paid attention there more. The sexual dimension, not so. It's actually stayed away from. And the work we are sharing about here, it's not about sex education. It's not about finding where are your ovaries, and what is a condom? Also, that is not what this is about. Now, it's useful to know about that. It's actually needed, the biological, physiological dimension. But what we really talk about is intimacy education. And that is not what we learn anywhere. And as Freddy said earlier, there's a lot of vilification still around the sexual energy. We are either obsessed with it or we are suppressed, but what we are opening up is really how can we flow with this energy, embrace ourselves, clear ourselves of debilitating emotion as shame, guilt, fear. Because when these emotions are there, they not only constrict our self-expression, they also constrict our life force energy, because life force energy is sexual energy, which means that I may not be as alive in my sexual expression, in my just physical health expression of my body, perhaps my emotional connectedness, because all of that is connected, like these three angles of sexual, love, and spiritual self. So if one is off, the whole being is off. So yeah, bringing awareness and consciousness to our life or sexual energy, that we then can be the one who guides that energy instead of that energy having us. Let me say a little bit more about that, because what we are talking really about is impulses, like getting horny is an impulse. I don't think, Elsbeth, do you want to get horny or not? No.
Right.
Comes
It
over
just
me.
is there or it's not.
Right.
Right.
Just like anger. Anger is not, I don't decide to get angry. It just comes over me. And we are just like animals in that respect. We have this nervous system and sometimes it goes off, and there's nothing good or bad about it. It's just how it is. However, what distinguishes us from the animal is that we have a conscious mind. So we can bring awareness to ourselves, which means that I can bring awareness to the way I feel, to my emotions. So while I may get angry, through the conscious breath that we did earlier, I could bring myself to a little pause, noticing, oh, here's my anger. And in that pause, I can choose then, do I want to be angry or not? And that is where the difference lies in being a human being versus an animal. And the same in terms of sexual energy, the horniness. There's nothing good or bad about horniness. It's just like, let me just breathe. Do I want to follow the horniness, which is totally fine? Or do I want to step back, and breathe and transmute this energy throughout my body and perhaps use it to write my book?
I want to say, we talked a little bit about the man, but for the woman in general, in the tantric practices, it's about freeing up and tapping into her sexual goddess, because forever women have been vilified for their sexual aliveness. I mean, even in parts of the world today, a woman could get stoned to death for having sex out of wedlock. I mean, you can't even, they're making laws against you deciding what you want to do with your body in this country. So for the woman in the tantric practices, like for the man to bring consciousness to the sexual, for the woman, it's about bringing aliveness and acceptance of her sexual self.
Yeah. So we call it.
So one of the things that's, I think, good about the pornography on the internet, for women particularly, is that they're seeing things that they never thought they could do. And this is all part of the step towards becoming, now what else can we do with this energy? Opening up to the possible. It's like it's out, the cat's out of the bag now. It's not just something that's hidden and forbidden and in a magazine. You can pick it up on your phone. So people are going to get, just over bloated with that. And the next thing is going to be, how can we also use this energy to do something else with it? And that's when we start to see a shift in the world, I believe, in terms of how we treat each other.
Mm.
So
what were you? I was going to say. Were you going to say, Elsbeth?
Yeah. So awaken. We call it awakening the feminine. Remember, it's based in the estrogen.
Mm-hmm.
So feminine energy really takes time to awaken, and then when it's awakened, it can stay awakened for a long time. And part of that call for awakening has to do with the slow hormone estrogen. It just, makes us rounder. Unlike testosterone, it's much more, it's leaner, it's more muscular, it's directional, linear. And the feminine is also in its physiological appearance. And then, as Freddy said, there is a whole vilification of that energy because it's a quite blessed energy, the feminine energy, and it's so seductive, and if a man doesn't learn to master himself and his wonderful energy, he's either addicted to having to have a woman or to be, follow this impulse. And so that also, that the testosterone energy as it has come towards us women as girls or young women, where we had to, protect ourselves or armor ourselves. And then the third one is that through our own very personal history, where there may be sexual abuse, so that energy is not allowed to awaken because it may feel too unsafe. What would happen? Or I may attract testosterone energy if there is an awakening. A number of women are concerned about that. They dress themselves in a way that nothing is being shown. So because they are afraid of attracting that energy that they don't feel safe with.
Right.
So freeing the feminine so that she can be free in her circular flow and really complement the linear masculine energy. And of course, what's at the very bottom there is learning to trust or relearning to trust, because without trust, there is no letting go. Why would I let go? Why would I surrender to myself and to another if I don't trust? And that doesn't mean that I may declare I don't trust, but just like for me, that in the subconscious, there is a caution. You better don't trust. That is not, in the conscious mind, but the body responds to the subconscious, not to the conscious. There may be a woman who really I want to experience orgasm when I'm with my partner. And she wants it, and her conscious mind wants it, but it's not happening. So there is something else going on. Mm-hmm. And so this is why we want to tap into the subconscious, so we can clear whatever holding back is there and create an environment where also the man contributes in a way where he can hold space for her, where he doesn't want anything from her. Like in this ritual that we spoke about earlier, about, in our healing rituals, and the ritual I experienced that was so opening for me, where the woman receives and the partner is the giver. And as the giver, he stays the giver for the entire time of the ritual, which can last an hour, 2 hours, or longer. And for the woman to be in the receiver role, imagine to be in that state of receiving that may be quite unmasking and letting go. And of course, to learn to trust that things may show up that cannot show up in a mutual kind of a lovemaking, where we give and receive back and forth, which is wonderful. We don't throw this out of the bathwater. But in these rituals and staying in the receiver role for an extended amount of time, I'm allowed to not be concerned about him. I know he doesn't want anything from me. It's not about me performing or satisfying him. He's there for me. He's there to listen. And in that listening, this allows me to listen more deeply to myself. And the space is created where things can show up, where something may be revealed to me in this Vesuvius, a little bit in the twilight state, that can be so life-affirming, so opening to life, and so clearing.
That feels so powerful to me. Because, as a woman, and how I said I'm a giver, you are always outside of yourself, I feel like. because you're always thinking about someone else. You're always thinking about how you can show up, how you can give, how you can do, and you're not in the moment with yourself, just allowing to be in a place of receiving. And we as women, I think, because we're nurturers, that's what we do. And we don't allow that pause to occur so that we can receive that type of attention and adoration and love and all of the things that we deserve.
Yeah. Again, for the man, in transcending what appears to the woman as lust, because we start feeling in our second chakra, or the penis, or the lingam, which is a Sanskrit term, magic wand of light, much more endearing than dighead, right? So for the man, in that transcendence of this, what appears to be lust, because that's where he feels, he learns how to bring and move that energy to his heart. And that's when she feels trust and feels heard. And that's when she can decide to either be more intimate or to just be in that open space, whatever, because the man doesn't want anything from her. And this is what all men learn when they learn this ritual practice that Elsbeth was talking about. And it changes relationship. It changes the relationship with themselves and the people that they're in relationship with.
I bet it does.
And also how men learn to listen, to truly listen, to not but do something. Like, this is not a ritual where we, try to come to orgasm. If orgasm flows, it's wonderful, but it just flows in the whole environment of the ritual. And so that he can be there and hold her and be there for her and listen, supports her, and also how she can listen to her yoni. I mean, it's quite superb, actually.
Yeah, when Elsbeth said if the orgasm flows, it's because in this construct of the ritual practice, and this does not negate any of the other things we do in mutual lovemaking, but in the ritual practices, there are roles assigned. So the giver is always the giver. The receiver is always the receiver in that hour or 2 hour practice. Again, this does not negate the other mutual lovemaking things that we do. But so that gives space for the receiver, particularly in the woman's instance as a receiver, to be in whatever shows up in this space, whether, as Elsbeth said, orgasm, crying, anger, sadness, disappointment, whatever it might be.
Yeah, so I remember actually when I experienced this ritual for the first time, and I worked with a practice partner because Freddy was not in my life yet. And again, I went there to these workshops because I wanted to discover something about myself. And this practice partner was so respectful and honoring. And, although he was so close to my yoni, and the giver is, close, has something around his lingam, so there's nothing. But that very presence of his was a healing for me in itself before we even went deeper into the ritual. I was not used to that when a man was so close to me, it was like game was on. No, right. It was such a different space created where I felt listened to. And that opened me up, and that allows for trusting and letting go. What may be great? What about if we do another practice now and guide the listeners in how they can transmute their energy from their sexual center into their heart center? We do it with subtle energy right now, but it's the same principle as we then use when we are in a sexual ritual, both in a solo practice or in the practice with a partner. How would that be, AJ?
Yeah, let's try it.
Yeah,
I know they're all so quiet in the chat right now. I know they're listening intently. So
yes. So we bring a little bit aliveness in here.
You want to leave?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So please sit up in an erect way, because when the spine is erect, our life force energy can flow more easily through us from the base of the spine to the top of the head and back down again. And then place your right hand right above the pubic bone, below the navel, and the left hand on your heart center in the middle of your chest, between your breasts. Beautiful. And then close your eyes and exhale all air, emptying yourself out. Then taking in a deep breath down into the belly. And then feel when the belly fills up, it moves up into your chest. And on the exhalation, following the energetic breath down from your heart center into your other hand on your creation center above the pubic bone. Again, a deep breath in, filling the belly, opening the belly into the hand, and then moving up, filling up into the heart center, into the upper hand. And on the exhalation, following down the breath from your heart center into your creation center, the second chakra, into the right hand. And then again, breathing up, filling the belly up into the heart center. And on the exhalation, sending your love energy down into your creation center. And on the inhalation, filling the belly, breathing up from your creation center, sending creative energy up into your heart center. And on the exhalation, following the breath down from your heart, sending love energy into your creation center, your yoni or your lingam. Breathing in, breathing up from your creative center, creative energy up into the heart center, imbuing your heart center with creative energy. And on the exhalation, sending love energy down into your creation center, imbuing your creation center with love. Breathing up creative energy into the heart and sending down love energy from your heart into your creation center. Continue in this pattern. Now you can see and feel how they communicate with each other. Being connected. And continuing in this way of breathing while you take off your hands just 1 inch. Exhaling, sending down love energy into your creation center. Inhaling, breathing up creative energy into your heart center. Exhaling, sending love from your heart center into your creation center. And on the inhalation, breathing up creative energy from your creative center into your heart center. And feel the wave moving up and moving down. And notice how your palms are feeling. They may be tingling, they may feel connected in that flow of love and creative energy. And then remove your hands and bring them back into your lap and just sit there for a moment and feel that flow within you, enlivening, connecting, loving. And then come back by opening your eyes. And if you like, AJ, please share how you feel and how that was for you.
Excuse me. I feel like there's like cold water going from the top of me down the center to my root chakra and back up. As you were sharing what to do, I just felt like it was going down and then up. It wasn't like the tinglies before in my arms and legs. It was all up through the center of my body.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And
Thank you so much. I'm going to do this when I can actually like really tune in and focus without having to be present in the show. I
I
think
want
that
to.
would be even more powerful for me.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing also.
Thank you. Go ahead, Freddy.
Yeah, I wanted to add for your guests who are maybe doing this practice or will do it later to put your mind's focused attention on the location of where your breath is going to be and your intention. So, attention on the location and intention on moving it in the direction that you're wanting to move it. That way, your mind is not just wondering, I'm waiting to feel something. Where is that feeling? You're actually using your mind's focused attention on a location and your intention to move it in the direction of what direction you want to move it, breathing it in or sending it out.
I feel a little lightheaded still. That's intense energy.
Right. And a lot of oxygen because the breath is really deep, and
Yeah.
so that can happen.
Also, you want to make sure you get a full exhalation. So when you exhale, if you're inhaling on a count of 4, exhale on a count of 6. That way you're really cleansing your lungs and getting all the carbon dioxide out of there.
Yeah, good tips. Good tips. We're running short on time. We just have like about 5 minutes, and that goes by so fast. I want to make sure that everyone knows how to get in touch with you and that they are aware of all of the things that you offer.
Thank you. Yeah, so you can reach us at tantranova.com, TANTRANOVA.com. Tantranova, like supernova, Tantra Nova.
Okay.
The new Tantra.
Yeah.
Given that we, combine ancient practices with Western technology. And there is so much available on our website. I mean, even free, and then YouTube. And then, of course, also on the program page, our workshops and private programs we offer. And if you, as a listener, want to get in touch with us and come on for a one-on-one consultation that is complimentary to really look at how what we shared in this show today, how that may apply to you in a very personal way and could make a difference in your life or perhaps in your relationship, please take advantage of that. And then, of course, when you come to the homepage at tantranova.com and scroll down, you come to the book and also the link to Amazon. You can get it in hard copy or in Audible. It's an audiobook, just like AJ has done. And that is the best way of finding out and getting the book. And then we look forward to seeing you, hopefully at a Zoom conversation as a consult.
Oh, I think it's just amazing. You have so many opportunities for others to learn, grow, and heal and expand their awareness and consciousness and receive pleasure by doing so. So many great things that you're up to. I did see that you offer retreats. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yes. So next February, we are taking a group of couples to Costa Rica for a whole week retreat. And it's an immersion into the work in a wonderful environment. I call it like it's a place where the lushness of nature and blissful education, become one. So this is really just very special because when we are in that kind of a space for a whole week, what could open up? It's not just jumping from one day to another. No, you are just there and you're in the work, and then you have free time and you go to the ocean and you come back and then you learn love skills and you may go a little deeper and see what's in the subconscious that you may want to clear, that you can become more fully available to yourself and to your partner.
That sounds incredible. Incredible. I can't imagine the magic that occurs in those spaces.
Maybe we'll see you there, AJ.
It's a possibility. I've been actually very intrigued with Tantra for some time and haven't taken the deep dive as of yet. But, when it's in your awareness and you're being called, it's only a matter of time.
Yes.
We're here.
And it's curious that you invited us onto your show.
Exactly. You brought us in. You're bringing it in, already manifesting.
It is. I am a powerful manifester. I know how these things work. So, and even diving deeper and just removing some of the layers,
Yes.
I think it's so amazing for us to really nurture our souls and allow ourselves to have everything we were meant to have in this lifetime. And this type of pleasure is right up there at the top of the list. Like I said earlier, it's our birthright to have these experiences. We're meant to have them. And the only one that's standing in our way is us and the stories that we tell ourselves. So it's really neat that you offer a safe place for people to put their shields down and really open their hearts and expand their consciousness to a point where they can receive the beautiful blessings that occur in these spaces. You guys are a gift. I'm so grateful for you and the time that you've spent with us. Your energy with each other is just so delicious. Everyone is commenting on it in the chat room, and I agree. I'm going to be soaking in these moments with you for some time and listening to your book. It's such a good one, and practicing the practices that you share in there. Such a gift to all of us. Thank you again for all of the time that you have spent with us, and I hope to reconnect with you again in the near future.
Thanks, AJ. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Keep doing the work. And to all of you, my beautiful listeners, I'm in so much gratitude for you showing up each and every week. I know you learned so much tonight. Take it with you, dive in deep, go to the website, learn some more, sign up for some classes in there, and even take advantage of all of the gifts that they give to you. And that wraps up another week of soul wandering. We did it. Make sure that you guys have a great week taking care of yourselves. Be good to you and be good to each other. Until then, we'll see you. Bye.